Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to the All Things Social series, where I'm going to be talking about all things social media, giving you my tips and tricks and insights as a social media manager. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about storytelling content and how in this day and age of marketing, you really need to be telling a story, showing up with personal brand and showing transformations rather than just telling people what their problems are and pushing a product or service onto them. Now, everyone has got a story, especially if you started a business, there will be a story behind it. And I think where a lot of businesses go wrong and where they wonder why they're not making sales is because they're not sharing that story. They're just pushing a product, they're pushing a service, they're just selling, and they're not telling. I know this sounds really cheesy and like marketing jargon, but it is so true. And personal brand and showing up for your business is so important, especially with the way that social media is now. And people buy from people. A lot of people need to feel reassurance, they need to have a human connection, they need to be feeling like they're investing in a lifestyle or a personal journey in order for them to buy your product. It's no good just sharing what the product does, what it is, and leaving it at that. And I honestly believe that if you don't have a story, then you don't really have a business because, as I said, everyone has a story, everyone has a reason why they started a business, so you'd be silly not to be sharing it. So let's talk about what it means to share storytelling content across social media. I believe it means three things. It means sharing your authentic voice. It means embracing hardships and sharing your journey as a business owner and the ups and downs. And number three, it's really important to show true transformation. What can your product or service or you as a personal brand content creator, influencer, what can you bring people? What value can you bring them? What are you going to do that's going to help them, and showing the actual transformation of what your product or service or anything your content does? Because I think there's been a lot about pain point selling recently, and I think that is definitely on the out. Everyone knows their problems, and I think people are just sick of hearing about the problem and they want to hear about the solution. So what does it actually mean to have an authentic voice on social media, through your content, through your brand in general? It's a great question because I think in this realm of marketing and the era of social media that we're in, it's very easy to get caught up in what everyone else is doing. And it's getting harder and harder for people to speak their own voice and stand out and be authentic. But it's not impossible, and I think it's becoming more of a thing that people are trying to do now, which is really great. But as I said, it is hard to stand out against the crowd and go against the grain and try and have your unique perspective. But basically, having an authentic voice on social media especially is just about speaking your truth, speaking your story and letting people in to who you are, who your brand is, what you stand for, what are your values, what is your mission. You might put it on your website, on your about page or on your homepage, but people need to be told things multiple times for it to be sunk into their brains. So you need to be putting it everywhere throughout all of your content. You need to have your unique, authentic brand voice going through every single part of your content, all of your marketing, your imagery, your tone of voice, your branding, everything. It needs to fully, truly speak you and your authentic brand. Having an authentic voice on social media and through your brand is also down to how much you know your target audience. You need to know exactly what kind of language and keywords and things that your target audience want to hear, want to see, and want to know. You need to know like the most specific details about who you are targeting, because otherwise you will lose them. Good storytelling content and being authentic on social media just comes down to being specific about what you share, what you say, what you do, and what you show your audience. And the biggest part about sharing your authentic voice on social media is showing up, showing your face. I know this is really scary for a lot of people, and I'm not saying you have to get on social media and share your entire life and every single secret and every single part of your life. You don't need to do that, but there is a certain extent of showing you and your life that is going to really help your business to thrive and make people feel more connected to you and want to support you. There are two main businesses / creators at the moment that come to mind when I talk about being authentic on social media and using storytelling. And the first is Jazz Handmade, which is a jewelry brand in Australia. And Jazz Hand, the owner, she is an influencer and content creator, but With that aside, the content that her and her team produce on TikTok, on Instagram, I think maybe on YouTube as well, is just, it's incredible. They don't even really share much about the product, about the jewelry, but they're just showing them as a team hanging out, having fun, doing funny dance videos, going to try new matchas, what they're having for lunch, the outfit checks, and they're creating like a lifestyle that they want their audience to aspire to or to want as well. And that by sharing that kind of content, their audience thinks, oh my gosh, I love these girls, I love what they're doing, I'm going to buy the jewelry because I want that kind of lifestyle. It might sound really crazy, but that is how people buy. They get invested in the personal brand, the personal stories, and then they want to buy the product. Another brand that's very similar to Jazz Handmade in Australia who's doing similar things is Remy by Riley. Again, a group of really funny girls that just make really fun and engaging content, and in turn skyrocket their sales. They're not even showing the clothes that much. They may wear the clothes in the videos, but they're not talking to the clothes. But in turn, by wearing the clothes, doing the content that's bringing people in and engaging them and making them feel like a community, people then want to buy the clothes. The second important thing when it comes to storytelling on social media is embracing the hardships. Now, as a business owner myself, I have been through a lot of hard times, and I have to say, I personally find it really difficult to share those kinds of things on social media, especially when you don't want to give away too much detail. And with social media, it is really easy to feel like you just want everything to look perfect. And, oh, if I share that story, like people might think less of me, or I made this mistake, people are going to think I'm stupid. But you want to humanize your brand. You want people to be able to relate to you and feel like they know you on a deeper level. So I'm giving you permission to share your hardships, share your fails. I'm not saying you have to share the things that make you really uncomfortable, because I'm sure there are things that you might not want to share on the internet. I know I have things that I wouldn't want to share, but I am myself trying to get better at showing the hard times as well as the good times, because again, you want to humanize your brand. Once people feel like you've been vulnerable with them and they feel like they know you on a deeper level, the connection and the engagement that you'll get is just amazing, because marketing can be so volatile, and I think people get so sick of being pushed product and pushed on service and getting all these ads all the time, that when a brand owner or a business owner shows up on social media and says, oh, I stuffed up, I lost $100,000 on a product that we're not even going to launch, like that engages people. Like people want to know, right? Like I would want to know, what did you do to lose $100,000? And it really connects people, and it just brings them into your world, and that's exactly what you want to do. And it's also really great as a business owner when you see someone making that kind of video about a failure they made. It makes me feel seen, and it makes me feel like, oh, I'm not the only one who makes a mistake, or oh my gosh, that's such a normal thing, and now I don't feel so bad about experiencing that myself. So vulnerability on social media, as much as it is a scary thing, and it's not going to be for everyone. I'm sure there's people that probably disagree with me completely, but I think it is a really important part of being on social media and selling your business. So some easy kind of content ideas around embracing the hardships could be telling a specific story about a time that you made a little silly mistake, or a time that you felt that you weren't good enough to run a business, or, oh, I just felt like I didn't know enough, and then how you overcame that. So sharing the hardship, but also sharing how you came through it and giving people hope and inspiration. Some formats that I like seeing this in, specifically content-wise, is carousels, doing the hook on the front and then the slides about what happened and how you overcame it. You could do a chatting to the camera video, doing snappy points about how I went from college dropout to $1 million business owner, or something like that. You know, you do see these stories all the time, and they are the ones that capture your attention. So just thinking about how you can implement that into your content. I specifically, haven't really shared a lot about this, but I want to share more about it, is the fact that I used to own a clothing brand, and I felt like that business failed because it didn't end up being my long-term career, and I didn't end up making hundreds and thousands or millions of dollars, and I felt like a failure for a really long time. But the experience that I had with that made me realize that I love making clothes and I love sewing, but I don't want to be a clothing brand owner or a clothing designer, and that's what made me move into the business that I'm in now. So I had a failure or a bad experience, not a bad experience, but an experience that I felt like wasn't quite right, and I twisted it and I turned it around, and now I'm really successful in the business that I'm doing right now. So I need to share more of that. I need to practice what I preach, but you get the idea. When I had my clothing brand, the transformation that I was showing was how you can go from buying fast fashion, buying clothes that don't fit you correctly, and feeling a bit rubbish about the amount that you're buying, the amount that you're spending, and still not feeling super confident in your clothes, to investing in a New Zealand handmade label like mine, feeling really confident in what you're wearing because it's made to fit you, and feeling really happy that you're supporting a local business and being more ethical with your purchases. So instead of highlighting their problem, which was buying loads of fast fashion, buying things that they didn't need, or not re-wearing things enough, I was showing how my products can make them feel and how they can make their lives better. So that's all it comes down to. You want to be showing people how they can feel when they invest in your product or your service or engage with your content. So this was probably a little bit of a shorter episode this time, but I really hope that you enjoyed it. And I hope this has helped you understand the power of storytelling in your content and has encouraged you to share more of your story, show up on social media, and just embrace your authentic voice and your authentic story. So I will leave it here. Thank you for watching this second episode of All Things Social. I would love it if you could subscribe and like this video. It would mean a lot to me, and I will catch you in the next one.